Oh, yeah. All right, I'm live. Let's do this. Getting real with writers with Paul Sading. That's me. That's this guy. Oh, wow. There's, of course, a new feature because I'm bad enough at this as it is. Of course there is. Hey, so, just a real quick unannounced, getting real with writers live stream, something I'll do from time to time when I feel like it. For those of you in the crowd out there who are writers and who you may be fans of one of my audio dramas, you may be a fan of horrible writing, you may have read the book, the only book that's out there, two more coming this year, by the way. Either way, you're here for whatever. Let's talk about what that whatever is. So the first getting real with writers that I wanted to talk about was this trend that I'm starting to see where uh, people who don't do tell us how to do. I mentioned it last week on Twitter and um, had a lot of support. That was great. You don't expect support from the people who you're talking about, though. And so I wasn't surprised to not see any support from them. In audio drama, it's now a thing, legitimate enough of a thing that people are beginning to tell people who do audio drama how to do audio drama. I mean, they always have. That's not any new revelation, but I'm seeing it more and more. I think people are becoming comfortable, more and more comfortable with it. Pseudo experts types. Writers have always known this. If you've published before, or if you have tried to publish before, you know this is part of the game where people tell you what you should be writing about, how you should be writing it, etc. The thing about audio drama, especially with this rise of the phoenix that we've seen in the last couple of years, this explosion, this inundation of new audio drama, is that a lot of people are getting into audio drama and cutting their teeth on writing in audio drama, which is totally cool. The entry barriers are incredibly low, very low. So it makes sense that they would. What comes with that, though, I get to see the best of both worlds. In those of you who write books, for the most part, you've come to accept this. You know, this is part the lay of the land, and that you're going to have those people out there. With people new to audio drama, some of them are very new to writing. There's a lot of young audio drama writers in the crowd, and um, I have seen a number of writers, both traditional route through books and in audio drama, listen to voices or credit voices in a way that I find interesting. And here's the thing. I've always lived by this principle, right? Those who do, those who don't teach. That's why I teach in my real life. But there are a lot of people on the interwebs who are going to tell you how you have to do things or what you can write about and what you can't write about. You will get that all the time, especially if you touch on things of interest to certain segments. So it then becomes incumbent upon the writer to do something with that. I've now heard people have said things. What do I do now? That's what life is all about. It's how you react to life happening because life will happen. So how do you react to the fact that life is happening? For me, this is just me. I will listen to people who do. So if there's somebody who's, even if it's unsolicited, if there's someone who's giving me their thoughts or their feedback, I will listen to them. For example, recently I had lunch with Raul Vega of Rose Drive podcast, and him and I talked about the second season of Subject Found. And I will listen to him because he actually does. He writes and he produces and all that stuff. So I will listen to what some of what he says, and, I'll think and reflect on what he said that I have found legitimate. If he says something I completely disagree with, then, whatever, it's a difference of opinion and we move on. For you younger writers and those of you who are newer to audio drama, who are you paying attention to? Because I'll be, hey, what's up, Adam? I love Adam, man. Always around, always supportive. Um, so those of you who are new, who are you listening to? If someone has feedback for you about your show, how much credence are you giving their word? How much weight are you putting on that word? If it's someone who does not do, so they don't write, I feel my feelings that your time would be better invested elsewhere. That's about as nice as I can say it. Too often, too many times, I've seen writers, both books and um, in audio drama, back at you, Adam, in audio drama, who change their story elements, their characters, characterization, main conflicts, sub conflicts, whatever, flashpoints. They'll change these things based on people who don't do. Why do we listen to people who don't do? If it was so easy to construct stories, everybody would do it. Everyone would do it. The fact is that it's not. It's not easy to do it at all, to start and get all the way to the end. And it's definitely not easy to do it well. You are writing because you've got that story inside you. You study structure, you study characterization and plot elements. You don't just willy nilly to go into these things. So why? Why would you turn around and listen to someone off of Reddit or Twitter or Facebook or whatever about your writing and what you want to write about? Write the story that's inside of you. Great example, because cultural norms shift all the time. I don't see a lot of edgy storytelling in audio drama, and I see too many arguments or too many discussions about how audio drama should be this and should be that. And in audio drama communities and circles, I will tell new audio drama creators, don't let anyone should all over you. Don't let them should on your story. And what I mean by that, playing off of the old adage, you don't let people shit on you. You don't let them should on you. Don't tell them what you should do with your story. You shouldn't talk about this thing. You should talk about the no. It's your story. Tell it how you want to. I can't stress that enough, especially for new people. One of the things I don't see is edgy storytelling in audio drama, and I don't even see it in Hollywood a lot anymore. Um, to the point where I recently finally got myself around to watching A Quiet Place. I wanted to go see it in the theaters, missed a couple opportunities. It was summertime, didn't feel like sitting inside of a theater when you live in Washington State, and this is the only time of the year when things are nice. So I like being outside this time of year. But I finally had a chance. Wife was out of town. She doesn't like horror, believe it or not. And had a friend over, and him and I have been dying to see it. So we sat down and watched it. And there's going to be a spoiler coming. So if you haven't seen A Quiet Place and you don't want any spoilers at all, fast forward like a minute, and I'll make sure I close it up in a minute. Um, but they did something in that story that I don't see often enough. I saw it in the new It Stephen King story. I saw it in that as well, but that's an old story. So I got excited, but I didn't get too excited because it was always uh, contextualized by the fact that it's Stephen King's 30-something-year-old story. So in A Quiet Place, here comes a spoiler. Yes, it was Adam. The spoiler is within the first 5 minutes of the movie, a very young child gets mutilated, slaughtered by a monster that we see for a fraction of a second. And I sat up and took notice right away, because I don't see people with the courage to do that in storytelling anymore, because we've got this offense silo out there that says you can't talk about all these things for whatever reason. And I'm here to tell you that yes, you can. It's bad for people to tell you that, because that's how stories get sterile. That's how everybody makes the same story over and over and over. And then we get an echo chamber of everybody's fiction, sounding and looking the same. You have a unique voice. You have your voice. You are the only person who can tell the story in the way you want to. And some of you are sitting out there not sure you can do it. Um, Diary of a Madman was an edgy thing for me to write in season 1, and the sound was edgy. I did that on purpose. And the people who will be getting 12 Deaths of Christmas, my new horror anthology, that book is a direct result of me taking some risks in Diary of a Madman and being okay with the result. And what I mean by that is I always tell people that podcast, the first season, because the second season is coming, but the first season was written by me, second season written by someone else. The first season, um, people either love it or they hate it. There's no in between. And what I realized is that's okay. The people who hate it are people I don't want reading my horror. I'm not gonna always write horror. Um, Adam is a long-time supporter of mine. He knows this. He knows there's other genres I wanna get into. But while I am in horror, I wanna write horror. I wanna write the horror I grew up with. The Stephen Kings, maybe a little more succinct than Stephen King, or the Clive Barkers. 12 Deaths of Christmas, I am not Clive Barker at all, but that book is about the closest at this point in my life I could ever write like his books of blood. His books of blood was very inspirational for me, and, because it was edgy. This was in the '80s. Clive Barker is a gay man, in case you don't know, and he wrote a lot of horror stories, that where the protagonists were gay men, and that wasn't something you saw in horror back in the day. He always took chances, and it was gruesome, and it was grotesque because he took chances. And I see people entering audio drama or in the writing circles, and yeah, he is, Adam, he really is. And no, not all my stuff is great. I just don't let you see some of the stuff. Um, but I just see too many people nodding their heads when some outrage machine tells them what they should and shouldn't write. Don't let people should on your writing. Write the story you want. A great example, some of you have already downloaded it, and Adam, I mean, you make a great comment. You gotta go from the heart, and don't be afraid. You have to have that courage to do it. Great example, a couple of thousand of you already have it. I looked at the stats yesterday, but I put up a new story on my Subject Found feed called The Snowman, and it's a short story that will to, um yeah, see now Facebook Li or YouTube is telling me that my connection's unstable, so who knows how much we missed. But thank you, Adam. See what I'm talking about right there. In that story, so in case I, didn't come through clearly, the antagonist is a piece of shit. He's a horrible person, and he uses words that I would never use when referring to the protagonist, the main character in the story. But if I had written that any other way, it wouldn't have been true. He wouldn't have been detestable. He wouldn't have been disgusting. I wanted you to loathe him. I wanted you to hate him. And I had to use certain words that are offensive to people, especially women, in the way he communicated, because that's what makes the story real. That's where it pings your emotions. And if I can't move you on an emotional level, then what the hell am I doing writing the story? Why are you reading a story if you can't emotionally be moved? And it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry at a fictional character because that means I did my job. And I truly believe that. Now, that doesn't mean that I set out to traumatize people. So there will be people who interpret what I'm saying to mean that, and that's not accurate. And you're going to hear it right from my mouth 3 times. Wow. Um, there's a difference between trying to traumatize people and truly faithfully delivering the story. At the beginning of The Snowman, I put a disclaimer in there about the themes, right? So you make that decision at that point forward whether or not you're ready to listen to themes, adult themes and language. Beyond that, you're responsible for your reaction, your listener, your reader. So, writers, audio dramatists, stop being afraid of putting your true story out there. Stop listening to people who don't do. If it was easy, everyone would do it. There's a reason why, even though there are hundreds of us, there's not hundreds of thousands of us. So go tell your story, tell it bravely, tell it with courage, be real. Give us a real story. I want real stories and real content. And I know there's a number of you who can do it. You just have to get to that point where you stop listening to others and like Adam said in his comment, you start listening to your heart because that's what it's all about. All right. So this is my first getting real with writers with Paul Sading. I gotta work on that title. Hey, these are just things I come up with from time to time. But I hope it's helpful. If you did find this helpful, or if I said something to you that you feel other writers need to know, share this link with them, please. Tell them to subscribe to the YouTube or the Facebook author group. Go over to Facebook if you still use it. Search for author Paul Sading. I will do these things over there periodically. Hopefully, I'll do them more often after my throat clears because we've got thousands of acres of fires going on up in British Columbia, all the way down through Washington State. We've got air quality of dangerous levels for 2 days, and it doesn't look like it's going to clear up until Sunday. So you're hearing what I sound like. I was supposed to narrate some stories today, and I can't do it. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. Adam, thank you for coming in and sticking out to the whole thing. I will do this in the future, and I'll actually try to announce it so people can actually be aware of it before it actually happens. So, anyways, all right, everyone, and to you, especially Adam, keep being epic.